Hey guys, welcome back to the Still Loading podcast. Happy time zone, guys. Hope everybody is doing fantastic. We have so much to talk about, I feel like this time around, about like shows and media. And I know we always talk about like what kind of media are you consuming? And I feel like there's a lot this time. Like
Mm,
because this is being recorded on Sunday, the 4th, which means the last episode of House of the Dragon comes out.
tonight.
And I know it internally, I am so sad. So we'll at some point in the near future, I think we're gonna have a recap, hopefully, episode where we can kind of like talk about it openly
What
of
what if we
spoilers.
just did a special House of the Dragon episode sometime
That'd
this
be great.
week? Just a little
Yeah, yeah,
bonus
yeah.
episode?
That would be great too. We could definitely
Because
do something like that.
I have things to say about that show.
Yeah, I'm very, very curious about how this is about to end. So,
Well, I I've been seeing things online of like every episode has been like, oh, like this one's so crazy. It's the craziest
mhm.
one of the season, the series, and I just want Damon to leave fucking Harrenhal so bad.
Yeah, I
It's
wanna
so
know what's going
boring.
I wanna know what's going on with him. I know partially how this ends
Mhm.
because of, Game of Thrones. It's talked about, actually.
Yes.
So if you guys are not of that privy knowledge, I would stay off the internet too, just in general, because I would have forgot about it had it not been in a TikTok. And it was brought up and I just happened upon the TikTok and then it was somebody from Game of Thrones talking about what happens and I was like, "Oh, oh, I forgot about that." So now I kind of have an idea of how this is all about to go down, but not really. So I'm very interested to see how well they kind of correlate coming up.
Yeah, I remember because there's I think it's called Fire and Blood, like the spin-off
Mhm.
book that like I've read part of it, so I know what happens to certain folks in
Yeah.
this show, but I still want to see it happen. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Like I yeah, yeah. We'll talk about it later because I
I
do
know.
not want to be spoiling anything for anybody. I know we haven't seen the last one, but like I said, I know there's some people who do remember things from Game of Thrones. But besides House of Dragon, any other things you've been consuming that you've been excited about, you've been playing or watching?
Well, honestly, I think the entire time we've been doing this podcast, you know, all 5 episodes, 6 episodes
Mhm.
of it.
This technically this is 5th because I
Yeah.
don't count our Nice to Meet You
Okay.
one.
Yeah. I've been in the throes of summer theater, which has taken up pretty much all my time.
Mhm.
But as of last night, I'm done. So
So
I'm
now you're gonna be
actually,
gaming.
I know I need to pick a game. That's what I was gonna say. I need to pick a
I
game.
was about to ask.
I'm debating between like Sea of Stars, Baldur's Gate 3, because I never actually finished Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm.
And or like some other, just like I want to play like an RPG. But
Somebody was in my DM saying, "I feel a Zelda era coming on," and
yeah,
I'm wondering if that actually is happening
I
or,
want
you know?
to. I want to. I think one thing I'd like to do is start making like kind of video essays about each Zelda game.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
I'd record, like I'd play the game, record the
Mhm.
footage of me playing, and then kind of do some sort of creative writing piece and make a YouTube video out of it.
That'd be cool.
Um,
Yeah.
so we'll probably start that. I'm just excited because my life has just become more free. I'm playing a lot of board
Mhm.
games. Um, I'm going to be painting some miniatures, so it's going to be good.
Oh, I forgot that you do that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I paint little chibi like Marvel miniatures for Marvel United, which is like one of my favorite board games. So
Dude, that's so cool.
I'll
That
I'll
is
send some pics. I'll send some pics of like Iron
yeah.
Man or something. I'm not good. I'm not good. I do a lot of artistic stuff, but painting is not something I'm good at. But I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's calming. How about you? What have you been?
So we this is actually going to be part of our podcast this episode, just so you guys know. So we're gonna talk well, like we normally do. We're gonna review some of the stuff we've been watching or playing or whatever, and then we have a really fun segment that we're gonna do that we're gonna call things kids nowadays will never understand. We'll do our trivia card, and after trivia, we're going to start talking about, I think, just two shows in particular that Alex and I kind of swapped suggestions on a
Yeah.
happy accident. And we watched the show that each other had recommended. And the show that Daniel and I flew through was Presumed Innocent. It's on Apple TV.
Mhm.
And it was suggested to us through a different podcast. And that podcast has not let us stray on shows yet. And so we're like, okay, we'll give it a go. We weren't watching anything because we did finish the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader thing.
Yeah, that's wild, eh?
So good.
It was really
I
good.
was it was I agree with you on so much of like it was so creepy of like how they had like these guys going and like posing and like you can see how they get like idolized in a very gross way.
Yeah.
But I will say their coach, I I would I would trust her with my life as one of them. Like,
Oh
she
yeah.
really felt like she would have went down swinging for some of them. Like, there's gross parts of her jobs where, like, you see them really have to, like, pull apart these girls' looks. It's like, she
Mhm.
needs different hair, she needs different makeup. Like, obviously, the show back in the day was very much like, "You need to lose weight, you need to look just like this." Like, there's a lot of gross parts of that job, but the way that she handled certain parts of it, of, like, when that girl was touched inappropriately, like,
Yeah.
towards, like, the end of it, I was like, "God, I would not wanna stand in front of her and
No.
security or let her at this guy because I think she would shred somebody."
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for them as far as, like, I felt like they really were trying to protect these girls as much as they could with what they were given.
Yeah, and I think part of it probably was she lived it, right? Because
Mhm.
um she's an ex Cowboys cheerleader herself, so she probably has an immense amount of empathy for these girls.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of a culture shock for me because like I lived in the southern United States for a few years actually in my life. When I
Mhm.
was younger, I lived in San Antonio, but there's not a really great comparison to sort of Friday Night Lights cheerleader culture in Canada.
Yeah.
Like even hockey doesn't really compare. It's a very
Mhm.
different sport with a very different culture. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was quite a shocking show to watch.
But yeah, it was so we finished that. I wanted to back up because we had talked about that, the last episode. You had said you'd watched it, so we went back and watched that too as far as documentary went. But yes, then we started Presumed Innocent on Apple
Mhm.
TV, and we flew through the show. I think we watched the first 3 episodes one day, and then the last of them like, 2 days after that, and
Mhm.
I think that's I finished it and instantly went to you and was like, I need you to watch this. I need everybody and anybody to watch this so I can talk to people because I kid you not, by the last 2 episodes, I was on the edge of my seat and I was, like, losing it.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
very invested into the show. So that will be one of the shows that we're going to talk about at the very end of the podcast. So after trivia, I will give another spoiler warning that if you haven't seen this show and you're wanting to watch it, don't go past trivia because you're going to get some things ruined for you. The other show that we're going to talk about at the end was the fact well, I guess I should also let you say your piece about Presumed Innocent because you did watch it and that was my
Yeah.
suggestion
Yeah,
to you.
your suggestion to me was Presumed Innocent, and I think I
Uh-huh.
watched it in 2 sittings. We'll get into it. I also
Uh-huh.
I watched episode 1 no, I watched it in 3, I guess. I watched episode 1. I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is a good show." And then I watched, like, up until, I think, the middle of the season, like, end of episode
Uh-huh.
4, and then I had a work day where I just had it on my 3rd monitor while I was, like, working. And it was quite good. It was quite. I was. I do like courtroom dramas.
Mhm.
This one is. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get into it.
Yeah,
We'll get
yeah.
into it.
I will say, to anybody who's listened to this and hears this, I've been trying to give people a little bit of a warning about that show because it is a bit graphic. It is a murder mystery, basically.
Yep.
So if you're slightly triggered by those things, I would look into some trigger warnings before you start watching because there was like one scene in particular that even I was like, I gotta look away for a minute because this is a lot for me. So do your research on anything that we suggest because I would hate to suggest something, somebody go watch it and then be like, "Oh, what did I just get myself into?"
And if
Kind of thing.
and if you're a big Swiftie, maybe avoid it too. Could bring up some bad feelings about a 10-minute song, but we'll get into that.
Uh,
Uh, the other show that I suggested to you that was also on
mhm,
Apple TV is Severance, and we'll talk
mhm,
about it. But first, we got
mhm.
to get to the things kids these days won't understand, Lizzy.
Really quick, I will say Severance though, for those of you who haven't seen it, I wanted to say I also loved it without like
Yeah,
these are my spoiler free. I loved it. It was great. Alex has been talking about it for so long. He keeps on
I
saying
love
how
it.
much of his this is his favorite show.
Mhm.
Finally watched it, highly suggest as well. So those are our two suggestion shows that you guys can hear us really delve into at the end. But yes, this the main segment of this is the things that kids nowadays will never get. And I feel like some people are we're gonna step on somebody's toes and be like, "Oh, well, I get it. I understand." It's like, "Okay, then you're part of the group, okay? You're one of the cool kids."
You're an old
Um,
soul. We're very happy
yeah,
for you. Welcome to being old. Welcome to our
mhm.
geezer gripes. All
I
right.
will tell anybody who's listening, I was born in the late 90s. Okay, so when you're listening to these and you're like, "How old are you?" or "How young are you?" You kinda have an idea of where this time frame for me is because some of these I feel like people are gonna be like, "You're not that old." It's like, "Okay, but for my sake, my time frame, this is how I feel, okay?"
I'm old. I feel it. All right.
I
I
don't feel
I've
it,
I
but
drank 2 beers this week on 2 separate nights, and I've had a headache for a while. All right, I'm
yeah.
old. I'm okay with it. I'm looking forward to it. So,
I do feel that. I had a similar experience a few weeks ago. I had 2 drinks, and the entire rest of the night, I was like, "I'm gonna puke. Like, this is so horrible."
oh, I wasn't drunk. I was dehydrated. I don't know. I just couldn't
It's just
I
dehydrated.
couldn't handle it. I was
Mm.
just hungover. I didn't even like get buzzed or anything. I was like I just hurt. So,
But that I don't know. Yeah, 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 that is the old age coming for us. Someone is gonna be like, "I'm actually old. Can y'all youngsters shut up?" I can hear it. But,
it's okay.
to each
It's
their own.
okay.
Alright. So, I'll go first. I'll go first.
Go for it.
I have a huge list here. We both decided that we'd pick 4. So I have to really, like, play my cards here of, like, which ones do I think is worth it and which ones that I don't.
See, I only have
Um
4. So if you pick one of mine, I'm gonna be like, well, I'm shit out of luck now.
I have so many that I feel like
I
if
can just
we
borrow
run
one. It's
short,
fine.
I can also start just rattling off some of the ones that I came up with. I'll start with the first one that made me think of this segment. We recently did a rewatch of all the Marvel movies, like
Mm,
in the order that like makes sense, not the order they came out, but which ones like chronologically should they technically be watched. And in the middle of it, I was like, man, kids nowadays will never understand when it comes to Marvel at least, waiting for the Stan Lee cameo
mm,
because it's not going to be as prevalent now that he's passed away. And Marvel, I think, in my opinion, kind of hit its peak with Endgame and everything. So, like, I don't know if it will ever be that big and that great again. That I don't know if you're ever gonna get that moment of like trying to find Stan Lee and you find him and you're like, oh, what a good cameo or what a good like moment for him, you
yeah.
know?
I feel like there will be something else though, right? Like those
Mm-hmm.
were really fun, really special. I feel like there will be either like because director cameos are still a thing, right? Every time I
Mm-hmm.
watch Lord of the Rings, I'm like, oh, where's Peter Jackson in this movie?
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was super fun, but I feel like yeah, the the kind of reception that Stan Lee would get when you'd be like in a theater on opening weekend and people were
Oh,
like, there
yeah.
he is.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's
We
done.
went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine, yesterday, which was really, really good. So if you haven't seen it yet, we'll have to talk about that soon.
I'm so mad. Okay, I was supposed to go like last Saturday,
Uh-huh.
and then uh like my theater is just always empty. Like I go, maybe it's because I go to like weird films most of the time, but
Uh-huh.
like when I go, there's like 4 other people there, right? Like
Uh-huh.
whenever there's an A24 film, which is mainly what I go see at the theaters. Like when I went to see Love Lies Bleeding, it was like maybe 2 people in
Oh,
the theater
wow.
with us, and like Challengers, 6 people in the theater. So I was like,
That's
okay,
kinda nice, though.
yeah, it was great. I love it. I don't want people there. I just want the big screen to
Uh-huh.
myself.
Yeah.
So and I saw online that there was like 20 showings of Deadpool in my theater that weekend. So I was like, yeah, we'll just go. my friends and I were like, okay, we'll just buy tickets day of.
Uh-huh.
Went to buy tickets. Everything's sold out.
That's
Everything's
crazy.
sold out. So we then, okay, I'll buy for tomorrow. I bought
Uh-huh.
9 tickets for my friend groups. We
Jesus.
Yeah, because we wanted to sit together. So I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I'll just buy them. You guys e-transfer me. Not all of them have, but whatever. And then I was like, oh shit, I have a rehearsal during this
Oh,
movie.
no.
So I
Oh,
ended up not going. I just
just
like
getting
emailed them the
stuck it
tickets.
first time and second time, like, too bad, so sad.
So I want to see it really bad, but I haven't seen it yet. But now that I'm
That
free,
I was wondering and looking for Stanley, and
yeah.
yeah, you'll have to wait and see what happens yourself. But go ahead, what's yours on Kids
Um,
Don't Understand?
I don't think kids are gonna understand how awesome E3 used to be before like
Dude,
Twitter.
that's actually a good one. That's
I
so
know.
true. I didn't think about that.
Like
Yeah.
I used to be get super pumped for all of the like press conferences and live shows that they do, and like I remember like sitting down and watching GameStop's like coverage of E3 from like when it starts until the end of the day. That was like
Mhm.
when you get all your gaming news, all your announcements for new
Yeah.
games. Because now it's just like, oh yeah, well this publisher just put out a tweet because today was a quiet day on Twitter, and they're like, here's our game. It comes out in six
Mhm.
months right?
Yep, yep, yep.
You don't get the sort of like hype anymore of like a live show where cringe things happen and everything goes
Mhm.
wrong and that they just because now even like with what was the new thing in June, the new E3 Games Con or whatever, or
Something like
we
that,
literally our
yeah.
first whatever
The Summerfest.
Summer Games Fest.
Mhm.
Even that, it's all pre-recorded, very doctored. A lot of
Mhm.
it is just like yeah. So I feel like the magic of old E3 will never come back, and I miss
That's
it.
a that is a good one. I like that. Yeah. Let's see. Like I said, I have so many that I really am like, which one? Which one? Which one? Um, let me go. Let me go real old school of like the red, yellow, and white cords for gaming.
Oh
Like
yeah,
when you had to like sit down and you had a power cable and you had your little red, yellow, and white and they were always I feel like they were always in the front of your TV because
yeah.
it was just I feel like at some point they started putting them behind maybe, but I remember mine always having it was like in the front
Mhm,
and you put them in and then what did you have to do? At least for me, I always had to move my, you had to go to channel 3, and
mhm.
I never understood why. It's still a mystery to why channel 3 was like, move to channel 3, you plug it all in, you turn it on, and there you go, your Nintendo 64 is up and running, or I don't remember what system they kinda stopped doing it. I'm looking at the GameCube behind me wondering if GameCube had
GameCube, we had it. Wii U had it. So
Uh-huh,
it was Switch. I think was the first one that was
really.
only HDMI out. Yeah,
Yep, and so kids will never understand that whole, like, going through, like, is it channel 3 or channel I think sometimes it was channel 3 and channel 4 and the little 3 wires that
yeah,
it's so nostalgic for me now because 'cause I'm like, now you just have HDMI cables and it does everything for you.
yeah. That's certainly. I remember because like every CRT I feel like was slightly different. Like some of them you'd have like a completely different input.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, that's a good one. Mine was Game Boy Link cables. Finding a friend that had Game Boy Link cables to play things like Pokemon and Legend of Zelda Four Swords, right?
Is that the
Because
one that would go, like, at the top of your Game Boy and,
you
like,
would go on
you'd,
the
like
top and you could connect to other Game Boys to play with them. Because
Uh-huh,
now it's
okay,
all
yep.
wireless, but like that was
Mhm.
like at least in my friend group, there was only one kid whose parents bought that for them,
Uh-huh.
and if you wanted to trade Pokemon, you had to like bring that kid
Oh
along. I was just yeah,
oh,
because
no.
now everything's just wireless or on the internet, you know. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
miss that.
yeah, that's I remember having I think I had one, that I think I had the little connector, but I also remember getting, like, the Nintendo DS,
Mm.
and I had a friend who lived, like, kind of, like, diagonal across from me, and if we both sat at the very edge
Yeah,
of our houses, you
you
could
could
get,
like
like, the
Picto chat.
chat Yeah, you could do, like, the picto chat kinda thing,
Yeah.
and so that we would both sit, like, on the corner of our houses, and that was just close enough that you could get it to work because it didn't it, like, went through Wi-Fi, but, like, not I don't remember exactly.
It was like a local wireless connection, yeah.
Yes. Yep, yep, yep. So that's in the same, idea of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
funny.
Switch doesn't have anything like that. Like, even 3DS had, like, Street Pass, which was always fun,
Uh-huh.
and those kind of fun, novel, like, local connection stuff, just
Mhm.
all that's gone.
Um, I'm gonna go music this time actually, in
Music,
that having a CD player and having God, bringing a CD player in the car was great and such a pain in the ass all at the same time
like a Discman?
because yes,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
because God forbid your car bounced, you missed
Mhm.
3 seconds of your song, or if it tipped, all of a sudden you heard it go
Yeah, just cut the
and you're
shit out of the CD.
yeah, or, like or you had to get, like I have one somewhere in my house still. It was because I had a Zelda one, and it was, like,
Mhm.
one of those, like, portable, like, you put all your discs in there, and it, like, kept it, quote, unquote, "safe" and not getting scratched. You'd have to take that with you, and your
Discman, yeah.
you yeah, and batteries,
Mhm.
because those things ate your fucking batteries so quickly. Oh, yes, that was one that I was like I remember being a kid and being like, you would get, like you'd have a CD player, but then you could also get the, like, at one point, they had, like, the skip like, the non-skip ones that were supposed to be, like, a little bit better, and I remember I don't think it made a damn difference, to be honest.
No. I remember vividly when I got my Discman because it was to go we went to Disney World as a family, and we
Uh-huh.
were, like, traveling on the plane, and I remember I had 2 CDs. I had the Backstreet Boys Black and Blue, and I had, like, a Kids Pop or whatever that had Mambo Number 5 on it, and that I don't know
Kids
why I
Pop,
remember.
oh god.
Yeah, so it was like but it was like it wasn't it was something along that, but it wasn't like covers of the songs. It was just
Uh-huh.
like pop songs meant for like the
Mhm.
youths,
Yep, yep,
and
yep. I remember
it,
those CDs.
yeah,
They still I don't know if they're still going, but I remember when they were like it was like, 105, like, those went on forever. I do
ever.
remember those one. That's actually a good one too, just in itself is, like, those damn CDs that they would just compile all, like, the top pop hits into one CD, which is great.
Yeah, but I remember Mamba Number 5 being on it, and just me, I love that. Oh, Living La Vida Loca was also on it. I can't remember the other songs, but those like that kind of era of music really reminds me of that
Mhm.
trip because we got our Discmans and we just sat on the plane feeling so high tech.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, yeah.
All right, all right. So, Lizzie, I want to take you back elementary school. You're playing a video game, and then your friend tells you that there's a secret way to catch a Mew if you go find a way to surf onto this truck. I feel like the age of the playground rumor is just dead
Oh.
because
Oh, yeah.
everybody's on TikTok, everybody's on YouTube. Everything is
Mhm.
spoiled and solved within the first 2 weeks
Oh,
of playing a video game.
yes.
And even now, like, if I'm playing a game that I don't have a patience to figure out like all the secrets for, I'll just wait 2 weeks until the wiki's done.
Mhm.
Right?
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
I've talked about this previously, I think on my TikTok a while ago of, like, walkthrough books
Hmm.
and how non-necessary they are anymore. Like, you Zelda, like, all these places, they don't need to make these books anymore. I mean, they're cool.
Hmm.
Now I view them more as a collectible. I'm not gonna sit
Yeah.
down and read a freaking walkthrough book for a game. I'll Google it if I
Just
need
an
to
art
figure it
book.
out. Yeah, at that point, yeah.
You were right as a kid to cut out all the Zelda pictures and just
Listen,
put them in a
my mom
baggie.
was not pleased with me, okay? My mom would very much disagree. I also like I said, like, now I would love to have those books though. Like, I would
Yeah.
love to display them, but it is such a that art is dead of,
It's dead.
like, how asking a friend how to do it or having to have the money to buy a walkthrough. They also weren't cheap either. They're kind of expensive little fucking books if you wanted to be able to have it to play the game if you weren't 100% sure how to, like, get through it, you know?
Mhm.
Um, let me see, like I said, I got too many of these. Um, I'm gonna go again with music ones of back in the days of having a flip phone before you could buy, ringtones but you could set your ringtone as recording and getting that song to play on the radio or through a CD or something and being like, "Everybody shut up." And I would do this in my car. I would play a song and I would record it on my phone and everybody had to be quiet. And I would like hold it up to the speaker and it would play. And then I would like listen back to it and be like, okay, pretty good quality as long as it was like decent. I would set that thing to my ringtone so quick. Whatever the newest song was that I was obsessed with, it got recorded on my phone and then it got used as my ringtone,
Oh my god.
which
I know.
now my phone doesn't even ring. I don't even know
Really?
what it would sound like if it rings. No, I have my volume. I am 100% one of those people who don't answer phone calls most likely. I keep my phone on silent 99% of the time. If you're going to catch me answering a phone call, it's because you're lucky enough that my phone was up instead of flat. I
Oh my
call
god.
people back a lot.
See, I actually know someone who still does kind of set novelty ringtones. I dated someone who used the Game of Thrones theme for her birth control. So whenever, so whenever I hear the
Shut
game,
up.
whenever I'm watching House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones, I just think pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, like every time.
That's incredible. That's so fucking funny. Oh my goodness. My Now, I don't know what my ringtone is, but I will say my text tone,
Yeah.
though, is from Zelda, and it's from Breath of the Wild when you open up, like, the Sheikah Slate and it goes,
Oh, that's
um,
dope. That's a good one.
that one I bought, and it's really tricky sometimes if I'm watching somebody play that game, though. They do it, and I'll be like, where's my phone?" And then I'm like, I'm nobody texts me. What am I looking
No, I
around
didn't.
for?" And then I remember my dad, he had, his text tone was this train. It's like a really old school. I think it's probably still on the iPhone, and it was a choo choo, and it literally would just go choo. And everybody in our house knew that that was my dad's phone because that was his text tone for years, and I guarantee it might still be that today.
Hell
So,
yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
Is my go? My
Yeah, it
go?
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. So I I remember many times like buying like used video games and getting the like really cursed files of just like whoever owned the game, the cartridge before, and just seeing like what they would name their Pokemon or like what they've done to their Animal Crossing village. And I'm a creep and I will go in and be like, all right, I want to see into this person's mind. Because I think that really speaks a lot to like how people's brains work if you go in and see someone else's save file
Mhm.
in a video game. And like that's all lost now, right? Because even used games are just discs that you don't get any storage from.
Mhm.
Uh,
That's a funny one because it's not something I think I ever experienced. Like,
oh
thinking
no.
back, I'm like, I don't know if I ever had a moment where I opened it and there was somebody else's stuff on it. So that's very interesting to me to hear, like, Alex is over there creeping on people's Animal Crossing villagers and judging them because they have 4 elephants and, you know.
Yeah. Or just like like what did they do to decorate? You know,
Mm.
how did in their Pokemon party? Is it well balanced? Are they all named after weird things? Did they hack in a bunch of Pokemon using like a Game Shark or whatever? Yeah, it's it's really revealing into people's minds. And a
That is
stranger who I do not know who it is, never will know, but I've seen a little part of their brain, and I
you
really appreciate
oh.
that.
I love that. I really do. Oh my god. I would be mortified. Like, I don't know. I'd probably share my list of character names nowadays. I feel like back in the day it would have been really, really lame because they probably would have all just been Zelda related. But like now I think of like Cult of the Lamb where I have so many people that I have to like name them. And I've been now at this point in the game, I'm just like trying to like finish it out real quick that
Yeah.
I've been naming them whatever I can come up with off the top of my head. Like, all right, one after another, let's go. Um, let's go back a little bit because I don't think this is ever gonna be the same, and I've watched this kind of slowly go away, which is Black Friday.
Mm,
I really am gonna miss, like, because that's where I got a lot of my, like, games or, like, CDs or movies back in the day, was
yeah.
having like, you had Thanksgiving, at least for us in the like, we'd have Thanksgiving, and then Black Friday was the day that followed. So I remember being young and getting up with my sisters and going and being up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, like getting up,
Mm,
going, you had to physically be in the store and like going to like, I don't know, like the mall or Target even, and them having these cases, or Walmart had them too, where it would be like $5 for like movies,
sure.
and like picking out like 2 or 3 of them, or like $5 for like CDs. But like now Black Friday is all online and it starts the week before
Yeah, I
and
guess
doesn't
Cyber Monday.
end. Yeah, exactly. Or you have like Cyber Monday, and it's like those long lines of like getting a TV, like having to be there first because when that stock ran out there, you were SOL. There was no like, I feel like nowadays, like Black Friday stock online is like damn near unlimited. Like everybody and their mom can buy a new TV if you really wanted to, you know?
Mm,
And so I'm gonna miss, because I remember when I got slightly old enough to drive is where I started to realize that Black Friday was starting to settle into like a decline, because me and my friend went and we again got up at the butt crack of dawn, but none of the stores were open yet. And I was like,
yeah.
what? It's 6:30 at this point. We used to get up at like 4:30 to come do this. Like, what is happening? And now it's you can go Black Friday shopping, but you can go at 12 and have no problem.
Have I ever told you my Black Friday experience?
No, you had a what kind of Black Friday
Yeah.
experience did you have?
So I lived in San Antonio, like I mentioned earlier, when I was in middle school, right? So for like 3 years. And because we're like Canadians, and at the time, Black Friday like wasn't really a thing in Canada. Black Friday in
Mhm.
Canada, especially where I live, is like fairly recent, like past 3 or 4 years, I'd say.
Uh-huh.
Um, we would we are like, okay, well, we're here. We gotta do American Thanksgiving at least once, and
Uh-huh.
we gotta do Black Friday. So we went to our neighbors for Thanksgiving. And I don't know what's up with y'all Americans, but they didn't cook the turkey. They smoked the turkey with
Oh.
with like jalapeno pepper sauce or
Mhm.
whatever, and it was like raw. And I was like, what is this? And
No.
I had like half a piece, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'll have potatoes and veggies. I'm okay.
Uh-huh.
I yeah, I did not fuck with it, but my brother really did. My brother really, really fucked with it. And this is important. This is important lore to what is
Oh,
about to
no.
unfold. So we get up at like 2 in the morning, and we're like, we're gonna go to Best Buy. And
Mhm.
everybody else in line at Best Buy at 2 in the morning is like there for like a Nintendo Wii or like
Uh-huh.
a television. And they came to they were like going down, basically taking inventory of like, okay, is the thing that you want going to be in stock when you get to the front of the line? And they're like, what are you here for? And we're like, we're just here for some DVDs, man.
Mhm.
We just want to experience Black Friday, get some movies,
Uh-huh.
right? And we're there, and my brother's like, guys, I don't feel good. And it's
Oh,
like
no.
me, my brother, my sister, and like our neighbor friend. And my brother leaves. And let me, I'm 12. Like my brother, who was 17 at the time, just left me and my sister, who's
Oh,
15, in line
no.
alone at
Like,
Best
you're
Buy.
talking, like, left, not, like, walked away, but, like, it was like,
Went
"Bye."
home and
Oh,
went
okay.
home and just threw up from food poisoning. He caught
Oh,
food poisoning.
that turkey fucked y'all up,
The turkey
damn.
fucked him up because everybody else who didn't eat the turkey, we were
Was
fine.
fine.
We were just fine. And then my dad had to get out of bed at like 4 in the morning because my brother went in and was like, Mom, Dad, I'm gonna die. Because
I'm
he thought
gonna die. Oh,
and then he was like,
no.
where's Alex and Katie? He's like, I I left them
I
at Best
left
Buy.
them.
He left my 12 and 15-year-old siblings at Best Buy alone in November,
Black
like
Friday.
a Black Friday, like an hour away from our house. So
Oh my god.
my dad came and
Oh.
picked us up and like drove us home. It was a scene. It was a scene. That's
That
my
is
Black Friday experience.
Was that your first and last? You're like, "That was
Yeah.
enough for me, thank you."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
fair.
shop online now.
That's all we do. Like I said, I feel like it starts early and it goes late, and then you have Cyber Monday, and it's
Yeah.
like you don't need to go. You don't gotta go anywhere anymore. So,
There's only one thing I've ever done a midnight release for, and that was the Nintendo Switch. I waited all
mm,
night outside of GameStop for a Nintendo Switch.
that's that was one of them. That my husband Daniel had mentioned was waiting like outside of like a GameStop for a pre-release or like a midnight
Mm,
release because again, these things don't happen
not
because
often.
you could just do it. You could do it online. It's pretty easy. The Switch, I remember going on a manhunt for the Switch because we were in college at the time. Very, very broke college students, like very, very broke college students. And I went to school for teaching. And in the state where I got my degree, certain like classes you did, you could like you there was like I don't remember who it was. I think it was the state would like pay you for these certificates. So I got a few $100 back that was supposed to go into a classroom, mind you. And I was like, I'm going to use mine to buy Zelda and a Switch. But
Oh
it was
yeah.
like the week after the Switch had came out, so nobody had it. But like literally from like I'm talking like a week and a half. Every single day we would go and we check out like a Target, a Walmart, like a few other like random until finally one day we found it. And that was like a very glorious day because I was so very stoked about it. I'm gonna rattle off like a few more just
For
really
sure,
quick.
for
We
sure,
don't
for
have to like
sure.
go into delve into any of them, and then we'll do our trivia. But let's see. Oh God, OG Netflix. Um, because now Netflix is online and people think Netflix and they're like, oh, it's all just here. We don't have to worry about it. But freaking Netflix, where you had to order one CD and it would come and then you could like update your plan and um you would get your second like you get like two CDs. And I remember when my family plan got like the two CDs because like my parents would do it. And my parents would get one and I would get one kind of thing. So that was always exciting. Um, I'm trying to think if there's any. I think we've actually done a lot of these pre-orders. Oh, keeping up with games, like actually having to have like a bookshelf with all of your freaking video games on it. Everything
Yeah.
is now digital. So now it's a lot different than having like sets and sets of stuff. Uh, let's we're gonna do trivia and
Let's do
then we're
trivia.
gonna move on. So I'm gonna pull a very random one. But if there's also real quick, if there's anything that we felt you guys felt like we missed, let us know.
Let us know.
Um, because I
What is
like I
your
said,
old person gripe about the
generations
youth?
yeah,
What
generations will change. And so I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of different ones that they feel a certain way about.
and if not, what just annoys you about the younger generation? Just let me know. I'm
That
here for the
too.
drama. I'm here for the plot.
All right.
Right.
I always am curious about these because I get a little worried because I'm like, we're not gonna know some of these because you just never really know what you're gonna get. All right. First question. The Kingdom of Halloweenist is the setting of which video game?
I don't know, Kingdom Hearts or
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that sounds like it would be something for Kingdom Hearts. Oh, Hollow Knight, which I
oh,
haven't played, so
you haven't
I
played
wouldn't
Hollow
know.
Knight?
I think I started it once and I never finished it. It's on my like list of games that I was like, oh, I could get into that.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Maybe August is a good month to do an episode where we like exchange a game and make the other person play it.
BioShock, which is one of your favorite games, right?
We could do it. I know it might be too
I
scary, so we can talk about this offline. But
Yeah, I want well, I've been talking to a lot of people are like, "I think you would like it if you could just, like, get over some of that. Maybe I just need to play it in the broad daylight." But I do want to try. I do wanna try, and we'll see. Maybe I just don't get very far. Second question. In which Nintendo 64 game does the player take on the role of Jonah Dark? I don't
oh,
know this real
Joanna
name.
Dark, that's Perfect Dark.
Joanna. Whoopsies.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like a first person shooter. It was made by Rare on the N64, and
Uh-huh.
it is don't at me an objectively better game than GoldenEye on the N64.
Huh.
I will fight anyone about that. I'm very passionately in the camp of Perfect Dark over it, probably because that's the game I had. I didn't have GoldenEye growing up, so I
Uh-huh,
played
uh-huh.
a lot of Perfect Dark.
So All right, guys, we are officially at the point where we would probably at this time wrap things up. This episode is going to be slightly longer, but if you're, I would say we'll probably do Severance first because that show's been out a little bit longer. So I feel like less people are going to be spoiled by that, and we will say Presumed Innocent. So I'm giving you this kind of warning now that if you're going to continue to listen, just take it one step at a time because one show could maybe not be a spoiler for you and the next one could. But if you're ending here, we just want to say thank you again for listening to the
Thank
podcast.
you.
We really do appreciate it. It has been incredible. And you guys can catch us like we've been doing every other Sunday, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok. And we appreciate you guys so, so, so much. And we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
All right. So, anybody who's listening, this is no longer my problem. You have chose to go this far. You're gonna get spoiled for 2 different shows if you haven't seen them. If you have, like, great, welcome to this conversation.
All right,
Uh
Lizzy, do you want to do okay, let's I'll let you explain Severance because you just watched it.
yeah, yeah. And we will, like I said, we're gonna start with Severance because Severance is a little bit older. So we have, I feel like, a lot of other people who have probably already seen it. So yeah, Alex had said Severance is one of my favorite shows. You should watch it. You should watch it. We finally sat down and watched it the other day. Basically, it is a procedure where they go in. I guess if you guys are listening to this, you kind of know. So I'm going to make this really quick. Where they put like this little chip in your brain, and they, as soon as you enter work, you go down. You forget about your life up here, and all you know is your life down there, and vice versa. So you come back up. You don't really know what you do for work, and you only know this life.
Mhm.
I first episode instantly was like, okay, I'm interested. Like, how does this work? And now thinking back to that question where I was like, would you do it? And you were like, no, probably not. Before watching it, I was like, sure, why not? Until I started watching, I was like, this actually like in like understanding the depth of like how much you don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Like I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I'd want to do it either. Like the idea of like not knowing if you have kids, like also, what if you have a girlfriend on the inside and you have a girlfriend on the outside? Is that considered cheating? Like that it's just so many things that I was like, this is weird. Like
Yeah.
I would feel really guilty, I feel like, or you wouldn't. I don't really know. Like, but we finished all of it, loved it. And I had sent Alex a message as soon as we
Yeah.
finished it, and I was like, "Fuck this show," and he was like, "Why?" Because the she gets down or the ending, he's like it's where he's in his like, what I call his real life, his
Mhm.
outies
His
life is what
outies
they
life, yeah.
yeah. He's in his outies life, but they turn it to where his innie side is now realizing what's going on, and so he's telling his sister about it, and then he realizes that his wife is
Is Miss
alive.
Casey.
Yes, and she's down there, and he's going to tell her, like, she's alive, and the last thing he says is, "She's alive!" And then it cuts, and I was like, and she's going to freaking, I don't know, what did she tell her? She's like, send her back down to, like, keep getting tested or
To
whatever.
research and development, yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, what is this poor woman going through? And also, why does Irv know what that door looks like?
Well, yeah, and that's outie Irv, right? So I think
Mhm.
there's something going on where I think so okay. Okay. So here's my big I got some theories. Okay. I've
Okay.
watched this show 5 times because
Uh-huh.
it's the little details. And
Oh, yeah.
The Mrs. Casey stuff I think is the most interesting. Okay. Because so Mrs. Casey was Miss Casey is um Mark's wife,
Mhm.
um, who I think has been some sort of like she's in a coma, but the chip allows her to live a life or something. I think that's what's happening.
Oh. I
But
just
she
assumed
does,
maybe there wasn't a body.
yeah.
Like, she got in a car accident, there wasn't a body, and so they just snatched her. That's what I just assumed, but I like that idea.
So a few times in the show, you see them go for a wellness check, right? Where Miss
Mhm.
Casey says, you know, your Audi likes the sound of radar. Your
Mhm.
Audi is kind to women, whatever, right? Um, and they want to watch their what they're looking at is not the wellness of the employee, but the wellness of the chip. And I think Irv's chip is malfunctioning a little bit because his Audi is able to like paint the like that door and like has some sort of memory from about that.
Uh-huh.
And in his wellness check, he fails a few of them where she's like, no, you have to enjoy all of these facts the same. And I don't know if you noticed, but his dog's name is Radar. And Miss Casey, one of the facts for Irv is he likes the sound of radar. And
Okay, so when they showed it, they showed his name. I was like, there's gotta be a reason that it's
it's
like, and that make okay, I do remember
and
that now. Damn.
and they talk about in Mark's like wellness check about how quickly he can set up a tent. But
Mhm.
and Rickon, who's probably the best character in the show, probably my favorite. Um, he's so amazing. Rickon talks to Mark about, you remember when we used to go camping together? That was so much fun. So like, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, so I think that that's kind of what those wellness checks are all about. But it's so, I feel like the first time you watch it, so much of it is just so bizarre. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
as you just like I recently rewatched it like a month or two ago,
Uh-huh.
and then I immediately like, oh, I need to watch this again, and I just like immediately went back into it. I I love the show.
I
And
called it pretty early with, uh, what is her
Helly,
name? Helly.
oh yeah.
I had said it. I was like, I think because when she was like, "I'm done. I don't wanna be here anymore," and she, like, requested to, like, terminate or whatever, like, to be done, and they came back and she was like, "No," and I was like, "Okay," but then after that whole situation with the, attempted to end her own life, and she came back and she was like, "No, this is my life. You don't matter," kinda situation.
Mhm.
I was like, "No, I feel like the reason her Audi is so, 'No, you can't be done,' is because she's in on whatever's going on." So in the last episode where they show her as the granddaughter, she's an Egan,
She's an
I
Egan.
literally me and Dangle were like, "Holy shit," but I was like, "I said it, I knew it." I was, like, so thrilled with myself because I was like, "I called this earlier that she had to be on the inside, and that's why she wasn't giving her any slack of, like,
Yeah.
being done."
And when you messaged in the Discord, you're like, when you're like, there's something up with Heliar's Audi, I was like, just wait,
Yeah,
just
I
wait.
was I was like, I don't
And
like this."
and it's obviously like that's like one of the major like kind of mysteries of the first season of like who is Heliar, because literally the first shot of the show is a clip of Heliar on the table, and
Mhm,
the line is Mark saying, "Who are you?"
mhm.
So like they want you to think about it. It's so well shot,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love it. And
There was a lot of moments where, like, at the end, we spent a lot of time, like, talking about, like, all these little, like, pieces, like, "Oh," or we would pause it and be like, "Did you catch that? Did you catch this? Like, do you think that this means this and this means that?" Kinda thing. So we spent a lot of time of, like, trying to pull apart this show.
yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I'm a huge fan of Zach Cherry, the guy who plays Dylan, who's also in Fallout, playing a very similar
Fucking
kind of character.
hilarious. His character is so good, and the way that he would just, like, rattle off these things, like, made me laugh so hard. Like, I loved everything about him, and then I love his, like, little kinda character arc of, like, the end of him being like, "I'll do this, like, even if I don't get out of this, I will be the one who takes, like, the brute of all of this because
Yeah.
I got it. You guys deserve to, like, go out and be," even though he knows he has a kid,
Yeah.
and that's, like, and it also makes sense because, like, it couldn't have been Helly. Like, can you imagine she flips those switches and she's all of a sudden, like, in it? Like, we needed to learn that she was an Egan, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I thought the like Bert um oh gosh, what's his Irving, the Bert and Irving
Uh-huh.
um like relationship was so cute.
I loved it. Oh my
And
god.
Yeah.
And he's there and he's banging. Oh my god, I'm just so interested. Like everybody's gonna click off, and I'm like I was yelling at the TV and I was like Irv, he's not gonna remember you. Like he's not gonna know. It is interesting because he's obviously gonna know him. I would assume from maybe because there's some kind of war story.
Mhm.
I'm assuming because they both were in the military of some sort. So I'm like, how is that all gonna lay out? Because all of a sudden, Irv's gonna wake up as his Audi and be like, "Where am I and what am I doing here?" And like, if Bert comes to the door, he's gonna be like, there's a potential that he's just gonna be like, "Who the fuck are you and what are you doing at my house?" You
Yeah.
know?
And
So
I don't know how they'd have a season 2. How are all those people not just fired?
yeah, that too.
So,
I
and what is MDR doing?
Mhm.
Why are
Yeah.
the numbers scary?
Yes. Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait.
What is going on down there? Why are there goats?
Why are there goats? Why are they making hatchets? Is the experiment, because it's either going to be something really diabolical or it's going to be actually what they're doing was, we're just experimenting on them, right? Like they're just little
Mhm.
lab rats or whatever, right? Trying to put them under different types of pressures. So I'm fascinated. I can't wait. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
wait.
I'm super excited, and I'm a little annoyed that I have to wait until January, but it's fine. I'll find something else to take up some of my time with a different show for now, but I'll be
Yeah.
very excited when season 2 comes out. Um, so then I'm super stoked to hear how you thought what you okay, if you guys have heard this far, you don't know what Presumed Innocent is, I would just shut it off now, be done,
Watch
no
it.
more. Go ahead, I'm curious to
Okay.
hear what you have to say.
Okay, so for people who don't know, it's Jake Gyllenhaal, who you either know as Mysterio from Spider-Man or the inspiration for the greatest 10-minute song ever written. Um, and he's a lawyer whose sort of like partner, I felt like a fellow colleague, gets murdered, and in a very brutal fashion that is reminiscent of a case that they had worked on years ago. And then he gets accused of it because he's been having an affair with her, and it becomes this sort of very over dramatic, very public um, courtroom drama about him trying to, you know, prove his innocence. Um,
Mhm.
Even though at all the signs point to him, and very quickly the investigation just zeroes in on him because he was proven to be at the scene of the crime on the night of. He was a lover. She was pregnant with his baby. So like all these things for like, okay, here's a lot of motive, but they couldn't link him to the crime beyond that.
How did you
Um,
feel when you found out she was pregnant? And then you find out it's his baby.
yeah, I was like, well, as soon as I heard she was pregnant, I was like, oh, obviously his baby.
Uh-huh.
Obviously his baby. One sec. Um, I think, yeah, I that was not one of the ones that really blew me away. I can link you at the scene of the crime right there. And obviously
Mhm.
because Taylor Swift fan, I was already rooting against Jake Gyllenhaal, just as you got to do.
I would
Um,
no, I was so like, I don't believe he did it because, like, there's so many moments in that show where you're trying so hard to, like, figure out, like, did he do it? Did this person do it? I was so like, Jake Gyllenhaal didn't do it. I hated Tommy. Was that his name? The other
yeah.
the other one, I was like, "He did it." He was obsessed with her.
Mhm.
He's always been in Jake Gyllenhaal's, like, his shadow. He
Shadow.
wants to be him so bad. He's not as good of an attorney. I was like, "It was him, it was him, it was him, it was him." Man, oh man,
Yeah,
were we all wrong.
I didn't like anybody in that show. I thought Jake
Mm,
Gyllenhaal was like a crazy egotistical sociopath. Um,
who definitely has anger issues.
like even like the wife, I was like, well, two wrongs don't really make a right here.
Uh-huh,
Like I was not
uh-huh,
rooting for her and the bartender. I was like, I get it.
uh-huh,
I don't think she's betraying Jake Gyllenhaal in a way that matters. Like I don't like, but I'm just like, oh well, this is also just like if you're both going to be shitty to each other, just don't be together.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
You know, um, and there was no one in besides Jake Gyllenhaal's like the ex district attorney who like comes back out of retirement to help Jake's
Mhm.
character,
Mhm.
Rusty, I was like, oh, I don't I don't like anyone besides this guy. He's going to be fine. He's just retiring.
Mhm.
But then there's like a few moments where I was like, okay, I feel like no, lawyer would agree to do some of the stuff. Like when he like defended himself and questioned
Uh-huh.
her son, I was like, okay. And like going in and like interrogating people, and, like trying to do investigation. I was like, I get it. You have to do it for the story, for the plot. But yeah. Turns out though, this is based off of a very famous book and
Mhm.
a movie. There's a movie.
Yep, yep, yep.
And I didn't know this. And I called my dad after watching the first 4 episodes, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
Dad, like, I know you like courtroom drama, crime drama. Um, I'm watching one on Apple TV right now called Presumed Innocent. It's pretty good. And he was like, oh, is that the one where the wife did it?
No! Spoiled
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the book, apparently the book, because I should have known better. The book, she does it with an axe. So, and he finds that out
Oh
after. So
my god.
I
So you
thought
didn't have the same kind of reaction I did by the end of it.
no,
Well, I
but
guess
when
it also wasn't the wife, but yeah.
I mean, I feel some kind of way about that ending still.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
get to it, but I thought it was like the wife and the son like had coordinated somehow.
Uh-huh.
Because like the son was there's pictures of the son at the scene of the crime, um and then like the wife like was scrubbing the bike clean of fingerprints and
Uh-huh.
DNA, and then tried to throw it out. So I was like, and when I knew, she tried to throw it out, and then when I found out it was the wife who did it, I was like, oh, maybe she like took the bike there or something for some reason and just like snapped and like went to confront her, and then it just escalated and she killed her.
Mhm.
And I was like, it was either that or this is all like, a red herring kind of thing. And they were going to make it Jake Gyllenhaal. And because the daughter talks about how like you could dissociate traumatic events
Mhm.
and kind of compartmentalize. Um, so when it was revealed that the daughter did it, I was like, oh, that's really clever, and I'm interested at some point to go back and rewatch and see what clues they leave for the daughter.
Uh-huh. I
Because
agree, 'cause she was not on my radar at all. It
yeah,
wasn't a thought. I think I was too consumed with the whole Tommy situation. I was like, "He did it, he did it, he did it," that I wasn't thinking about her.
now I'm curious. I'm curious that like, did the daughter like did they actually hint the daughter the whole time in subtle
Mhm.
ways, or was it just a shitty little plot twist? And I hope
Mhm.
it's the former, because as we've talked about in Severance, I love it when everything's set up, when
Mhm.
they place the dominoes for you to dissect. I think that's a lot more fun than like, oh well, I'll just wait until the end to find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was interesting that I did like the reveal where he was like, "Oh, like I went back later, found her dead, realized that it was you, and I tied her up to, um I was like, "Oh, so he's also kind of involved." And then they're all like, "All
Uh-huh.
right, now let's be little, an evil little family unit and we'll stick together." And I'm like, "No. No,
That's
I don't like this at all."
when he started talking to the wife and was like, it took me a while. I was like, "Oh, she did do it." Especially like her reaction. I was like, "Oh, and she knows she did it." I was like, "Damn." Again, like there wasn't a thought process that she could have done it. Like there never was any hints that she could have done it. And damn, if that daughter didn't walk in, and she was like, "She didn't do it." My jaw hit the freaking floor. I was like, "Huh?" Again, I think I kinda just wanted it to be Tommy so bad, like, when the poker got placed in his house, I was like, "Oh, somebody found it. Somebody found it, and now he's gonna get pinned for it, and all will be well." But there was always this moment where I was like, "God, if it is Jake Gyllenhaal, my whole life is a lie." Because if it comes to the end of it and he's like, which technically he did do part of it, to your
He
point.
was an accomplice, yeah.
I was like, but I was like, "I don't think he actually killed her. I really don't."
Well, and I almost wondered if it was going to be like almost like Arthur Miller's The Crucible, where he sacrifices himself for his wife at the end of the,
Mhm.
like he realizes that it was his wife, and he takes the fall as sort of a repentance for being an absolute piece of shit.
Yep, yep,
But
yep,
no,
yep.
nope, 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 nope. He's like, we must stick together.
Oh, yeah, and then the ending, you get this, like, happy little Thanksgiving scene where they're like and I wish because I know season 2 has been green lighted, so they're already doing a season 2, but it's not gonna be about this family. This whole show is now gonna be each season is gonna be a different kind of, like, mystery with different characters, different people,
Mhm.
because I really think that had they continued it, I don't think mom would have been cool with it. I think mom would have had a hard time with it. I think some point she would have blown up. I think dad, because he was the one who tied her up and knew what happened, I think he was letting go of it and he would have lived with it. Where I think mom, knowing it was her daughter, I think something crazy would have also come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Made me really reflect also about like, because they really stuck together because of the kids. And I was like, wow,
Mhm.
like I'm at an age in my life where I'm like, well, are we going to have kids? Are we not going to have kids? And it really made me
Mhm.
like sit and think like, yeah, I have to be damn sure, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It was, yeah, no, 2 new shows for us in a very short amount of time was great because we literally went from Presumed Innocent to Severance, and both of them, like,
oh, they're
had
bangers.
me, like, super excited about both of them, and now like I said, I just want everybody to watch Presumed Innocent because I want everybody to experience that ending
Mhm.
where I was, like, literally on the edge of my seat screaming at the TV. So,
If you do you like watching like courtroom dramas? Is that a genre you like?
it just like I said, if somebody is like, "This is so good, you should watch it," I will normally just be like, "Okay," and I'll put it maybe on a list for another time. I can't say it's gonna be done right away, but we didn't have anything else to watch. Again,
Mm,
it had been brought up, and I was like, we'll try. We'll see how we feel about it." And then we ended up loving it, though.
fair. Cool,
So if
cool,
you
cool.
have suggestions, we're open to listen to just to some, but
Shrinking on Apple TV is another good Apple TV show.
done. Already seen
Great.
it.
All right.
Fucking incredible show. I cannot wait for the next season. It was
Me
so,
neither.
so, so good.
Though,
Um,
as someone who's been going to therapy pretty regularly in the past few months, I can't watch it right now because I think like, oh, am I just that patient?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Am I just that? So
Yeah, we'll have to have another good chat about shows because we have in passing talked about how Apple TV is incredible
it does not
and how
miss.
much it doesn't miss, but I want to save that for a time where everybody can hear it because I'm assuming a lot of people might have tuned out at this point because they don't want to ruin anything for themselves. But if you're still here, let us know what you guys thought of these 2 shows if you've seen them.
Great.
Or if you were just like, "You know what? I don't care. I'm not gonna watch these shows. I just wanna hear y'all talk about it." Well, good for
Thank
y'all
you.
because I would have been like, "I gotta watch it, and then I'll come back to this." But just like we said earlier, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks and maybe have some more shows. You never really know. You never really know. But, appreciate you guys, and, we'll see you guys in a few weeks. Bye, guys.